What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Beastcoast Pokemon. My name is Luke, and with me here today is Sean. We're going to be looking at the 4 Pokemon TCG sets of 2021 with the year wrapping up. And we're going to try to figure out what the 5 best cards were from these 4 main sets. Now, of course, there weren't official Pokemon TCG in real life events, but we did have some of the Players' Cups that the Pokemon Company International ran, and a multitude of third-party online events as well. So I've got a pretty good grasp of the cards that were popular and really defined the competitive metagame. And Sean is very interested in the card game as well, going to be starting to compete more in the near future, so he's going to be here helping me pick out the top 5 cards. Sean, what set do you think is going to have more cards? Because there are 4 main sets we're looking at: Fusion Strike, Evolving Skies, Chilling Reign, and Battle Styles, all from the Sword and Shield block. Which one do you think is going to have more than one best card?
Probably definitely Evolving Skies. That set was kind of packed.
Yeah.
It was. It's nothing really much else to say other than let's jump into the first set though with Battle Styles, because
Absolutely.
there were a few cards in here that I could say were relatively there was some that saw fringe play, but if we're going specifically for cards that were like 1000% played, you have your Rapid Strike Urshifu and VMAX here. Single Strike saw some fringe play as well, but Rapid Strike with the toolbox that it obtained with Rapid Strike Energy, the fact that you could do that with you could combo it with stuff like Blaziken VMAX, Sylveon VMAX, just the decks, the deck's capabilities that came out of that archetype of Rapid Strike really just threw the meta for a spin, because
Yeah, super versatile, and also the metagame later in the year especially started relying more heavily on the Drizzile and Teleon engine, and Gmax Rapid Flow is just going to pop the Sobbles and the Drizziles and everything. Single
Yep.
Strike Urshifu VMAX was one of, if not the best deck in the Evolving Skies standard format meta, and Single Strike Urshifu is still around like the second or third best deck right now, while Rapid Strike Urshifu was falling down a lot of people's tier lists, but also in that top 5-ish range of decks in the Fusion Strike standard format. So I think Rapid Strike, I would be, I would not want Rapid Strike to not be in our top 5. But I also think Single Strike Urshifu VMAX deserves to at least be a thought, kind of,
Right.
because it has been very good.
This card had so many busted trainers too. I mean, just scroll up: Fan of Waves, all Corina's Focus, Cheryl.
Yeah,
Those all 4 of those see a lot of play.
and
Tool
Tower of
Jammer, Tower of
Waters.
Waters. Tool Jammer, I know, is relatively it's a nice tech.
Mhm.
I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, there's actually so many cards that we're scrolling through here in the trainer section that are used today, just not like meta defining. Like Level Ball is in almost every deck, but we probably wouldn't say it's a top 5 card. But so
Right.
many
Yeah.
good cards in this set for sure. So I think from here we're taking for our considerations both of the Urshifus.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And let's go to the next one, Chilling Reign. So the battle styles theme was the Urshifus, right? The 2 differing styles of Urshifus. Chilling Reign, however, had the theme of the 2 Calirexes. So we
Yeah,
have
so the
the Ice Rider.
Calorexes were both interesting because both Ice Rider and Shadow Rider were pretty good, but Shadow Rider definitely came out on top in comparison with both. But this set didn't really introduce a crazy amount of good staple item and supporter cards. But the fact that we did get Shadow Rider Calyrex really wrecking the format, and then good stuff like good stuff cards like Galarian Moltres you would see a lot.
Yeah,
So
Galarian Moltres V has been, there's a lot of variants that have revolved around Galarian Moltres V, like Leafeon VMAX, but with Galarian Moltres V thrown in, Urshifu VMAX, but with Galarian Moltres V thrown in. Even when it initially came out, it was pre-rotation and ADP was still around, so the deck was ADP Birds. It was now ADP with Galarian Moltres and Galarian Zapdos and Zacian, and just a little bit of everything thrown in there. But really the 2 main things that we were talking about, Ice Rider Cali and Shadow Rider Cali. So pre-rotation, when Chilling Reign first came out, Shadow Rider Calyrex was best deck in format because it had those powerful psychic tag teams helping it out. But nowadays, Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX is like a fringe deck. It's like
Mhm.
barely even being played or seeing success in tournaments right now. While Ice Rider Cali has been around like the 5th to 10th best deck range, or somewhere around there in the current standard format. But it's undeniable that when Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX first came out, it not only was a good deck, but the whole meta was kind of wrapping around that, and decks were playing dark type attackers just to hit Shadow Rider Calyrex for weakness.
Yeah, and of course you can't forget. We did have two other Pokemon that were in this set. The Sobble, that for 1 energy you could do the attack and put three other basic. I think it was basic Rapid Strike Pokemon.
Yep, keep calling.
Yep. And then Inteleon, you would actually see this Inteleon as a two of sometimes. Sometimes it was like 1-1 with the one from Sword and Shield base, but being able to just sit there and put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon paired extremely well with something like a Jolteon VMAX that could do 100 onto the bench if it already had damage counters. And the fact
Yeah.
that you were already playing the Drizzile engine to search out your trainer cards just made it such a nasty combo.
Yeah, this Inteleon and this Sobble are seen in so many. Like, you can play in a tournament, and either you or your opponent has this card in every game of a tournament.
Yep.
So they're really staple cards. And, I wouldn't mind considering this Inteleon to be one of the best cards that came out this year, but I just don't know if it's meta defining enough to land itself in the top 5 spots, because it is a great card, but I'm not sure it really defines the meta in any of the formats that it's been featured in.
Yeah, it's hard to distinguish between staple that you still run in every deck, but it doesn't really define the format. It's
Yeah.
just good enough. It's just good stuff that you put into the deck because it's good and it helps accelerate other strategies. So
Typically, when I think about defining a format, I think, are people complaining about this card or deck on the forums? And do we have a lot of counter decks specifically trying to beat this deck because of how good it is?
yeah,
And the one card from Chilling Reign that I can say that about would be Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX.
but for it was only able to do that for about 3 months before rotation happened. So it's
Yeah.
not like it stuck around for one format.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
So I would say the candidates from Chilling Reign are Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. Do you think we have others from here as well?
Galarian Moltres and the Inteleon are like those are the top 3 that I can think of.
Okay.
Uh,
Sounds good to me. So we'll take those 3 from Chilling Reign, and we have the double Urshis from Battle Styles, and we'll move on to Sword and Shield Evolving Skies. Sword and Shield Evolving Skies is just such a good set, man.
it's dumb good. Like
not
this
even
set-
just the playable cards, but the enjoyment of opening it. You got evolutions, you got alternate art Rayquaza, you got it has so much. Whether you're a collector, a store, a seller, a buyer, a player, there's so much going on in this set.
Yeah, like I could already point out, Leafeon VMAX pairing with Galarmine is one of the most fun decks that I played during the Evolving Sky standard format.
Yeah,
Um,
Leafeon V greening cells ability that you can just choose to end your turn to accelerate an extra energy for turn.
Mhm.
One of my favorite abilities they've printed as of late, because it allows you to, even though on turn 1 you can't play supporters, you can go ahead and use this greening cells, which gets you better setup than most supporters can. So
yeah, it's kind of
Leafeon's
like
great.
it's kind of like how Zacian from Sword and Shield base worked, where you would take the top 3 cards off of your deck and you would attach as many metal energies that you'd find and put the rest in your hand. It's just energy acceleration on the first turn when you can't activate supporters is just really helpful.
Yeah, and I've scrolled down here to Suicune
Yeah,
V.
Suicune V's
Another
nuts.
great one. I think just about every couple scrolls I'm seeing a card that we can talk about here.
Yeah, yeah, this
Suicune
card
V,
is dumb.
it has a built-in little bit of drawing power, and then Blizzard Rondo does max 220 before damage modifiers for 2 energy. So it's just super efficient. It got Melanie in the set prior, and Suicune V can use capture energy since it has a colorless. It just pairs really well with a lot of things because it's pretty low maintenance.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I can't really add it too much on there. on there for that because of how good it was. Jolteon VMAX. Now, this was my favorite deck for during this time. Being able to just attach an elemental badge and use Max Thunder Rumble for a single energy and match that with the Inteleon we were talking about earlier. I just was sniping prizes left and right, and it was nasty.
Jolteon's actually one of the best decks right now. It's battling Mew for that top spot.
Yeah.
It's a really good card, and I love that this card is good. So I might be a little biased because this is a card where you actually have to put some thought into things, and it doesn't just do 5,000 damage at your face. You know, it sets up damage over time, and I'm really happy to see that kind of card fighting for that top spot in the metagame at the moment, and also when it came out.
Yeah, plus it also runs the Galarian Zigzagoon from Sword and Shield base, and when you put it on your bench, it does 10 damage to any one of your opponent's Pokemon, which sets up Max Thunder Rumble, so if you can do math, you will be rewarded.
Yeah, so
another
that's
card
good
also
card,
on this page, if you scroll up, the Flaffy with Dynamotor. If you guys were not familiar with black and white format, there was an electric with the, I think it was the same ability.
Called Dynamotor.
Yep, Dynamotor. And it did the same thing, and it was nuts back then, and it's still pretty darn good now. There aren't as many good payoffs for it, but I guarantee you if we see like a really good, like big electric Pokemon that requires like a hefty energy cost, Flaffy's going to see a ton of play. So look out,
yeah,
look out for that one.
Flaffy unfortunately came in at the wrong time right now because we did have a format for a while where it was just big stuff hitting big stuff. But between Jolteon VMAX's 100 and 100 snipe and Gmax Rapid Flow on the Urshifu that does 120, 120, everybody thought Flaffy Rayquaza would be the new tier 1 deck, but the Flaffies just get sniped off too easily in this metagame, and that's why that deck hasn't been performing as well as some people might have hoped. Here's another evolution. We got Sylveon V and VMAX. Sylveon V with the Dream Gift ability does a similar similar thing to Leafeon V. It lets you end your turn to search your deck for an item card. Now, of course, with Marnie being a very popular supporter and that shuffles your hand, this item card that comes to your hand might not stay there, whereas Leafeon V's energy has a much higher shot of staying.
Yeah, but it is a fantastic bait and switch for your opponent because you can bait them into a Marnie when you just have a really bad hand, and it's it definitely plays some mind games, and I love whenever card games have that because the card doesn't just do what's written on the card, and whenever cards do that, you know that it's a top contender.
Yeah, absolutely. This Medicham is a really awesome card. I don't know that I could say it's a candidate for one of the best cards since it's so reliant on the deck around it, right? Because this Yoga Loop attack for 2 energy or a Rapid Strike energy puts 2 damage on something, and if you knock that out with that 2 damage, you get to take an extra turn. But you can't really make a whole deck around this Medicham V. There's not a whole deck's countering this Medicham V, but it does really cool things when you put it into a Rapid Strike Urshifu deck.
I've actually never read this card and I never played it, so the fact that it can kind of do something, it's almost like the equivalent of Fell Stinger in the video game. If you knock something out, you get an extremely high reward despite it not doing barely any damage, and so that does make it a cool pick, but definitely not like the best, but it is a cool shout.
Yeah, for sure. Here we got Umbreon VMAX. This was actually my number 1 card on my own channel for my top 10 cards of the set pre-release. And I think I called this one kind of right. Umbreon VMAX is crazy, and we were just talking about Single Strike Urshifu kind of being at that top echelon of decks, and it would not be there without Umbreon VMAX as its partner.
Yeah, absolutely not. I have very limited experience with playing this deck, but playing against it, it whipped my bum every single time just because of how it was just fast, because it would set up the Houndooms, being able to search out your single strike cards, and the tempo game that Single Strike Umbreon has with that deck in and of itself is just crazy.
Yeah, it's always good when you can use a boss's orders effect or a gust effect without actually playing boss's orders. You get to evolve the Pokemon that you want to attack with and bring up an opponent's weak Pokemon or a Pokemon that they don't want being hit yet because it's not ready up into the active and then smack it with Umbreon or maybe even Gmax one blow. Here we have Rayquaza VMAX. So I was kind of alluding to this being a bit of a disappointment when Sean was talking about Flaffy. Flaffy is a great card in a vacuum, and Rayquaza VMAX is an absurd card in a vacuum, but somehow it just doesn't add up in our current standard format.
Yeah, we have too many cards that snipe, which you'd think would have inhibited the whole Drizzile engine, but it
You
in
get
fact has in
payoff.
yeah, it has a much bigger payoff than what Flaffy can do for a single deck. So that's why it's just underwhelming. Even though Rayquaza is one of the coolest Pokemon that came out of this set,
Yeah,
Dragon
Rayquaza
types.
VMAX has incredible draw power, but that ability is also being hindered by Path to the Peak that shuts off abilities that are targeting other Pokemon. So it kind of caught collateral damage there. And also Max Burst, you have to discard what 4 energy to one shot other hefty VMAX Pokemon and then
Mhm.
get that energy back on again. Or I'm sorry, 3. Can I do my math? 4 energy to do 340 in one shot a clean undamaged VMAX Pokemon. So then you have to get it back to the bench and Dynamotor to it, and it's a whole thing. So just more high maintenance and susceptible to bench damage than other Pokemon are.
Yeah, and to add on the tip of the crap Sunday, it can't hit for weakness for anything because it's Dragon type. So you're not
Yup.
really having any advantage of discarding less energies. Now, moving on to trainers here, Raihan and Elemental Badge. Elemental Badge, of course, is played in Jolteon to reduce its energy cost. Or I think it's energy cost. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, if the Pokemon V it's attached to is Vaporeon, Jolteon, or Flareon, its attacks cost 1 less. So
yep.
Flareon kind of got the short end of the stick. It's probably the worst evolution in this set. Vaporeon I actually played to some success in online events, paired with Rapid Strike, Urshifu, and Zeraora V. Really fun card, Vaporeon VMAX. And then Jolteon, of course, as we mentioned, it's in the running for being one of the best decks currently, and it's been played off and on ever since it came out this past year. Elemental Badge, as Sean alluded to, is a really cool card because it's really powerful. Your attacks cost 1 less, but only on the original EV trio.
Yep. Yeah, and it just because of that, it's like an archetypal card that you kind of wish you saw more of in Pokemon instead of it being a lot of generic staples. And because of that, I really love the design of the card. Second up as well here is Raihan. Raihan is usually teched in as like a one of in most decks in the format right now, but just being able to get out this card on when you're on the backswing of getting like you just got a Pokemon KO'd off of your board, being able to just grab an energy off of the discard pile and search your deck for a card, any card, is completely broken, and it makes it one of the best supporter cards in the format right now.
Yeah, I love Raihan. It definitely gives a little bit of a different strategy and flavor to the Sword and Shield format, which was kind of linear. Still a bit linear with all the big Pokemon VMAX 3 prizes around, but Raihan gives us a little bit of extra strategy and skill intensiveness to the format. Raihan actually can be almost a main strategy of some decks that want to play from behind, such as the Galarian Moltres V Rapid Strike Urshifu deck that kind of wants to get a Sobble knocked out with a Dark Energy on it. So then you can just go Raihan and search out your Rapid Strike energy. So Rapid Strike energy doesn't have other cards that search it other than the Octillery that you have to set up and evolve. Whereas Raihan can just go get you those special energies that are hard to find. Like Sean said, it searches any card, so you know that card's going to be ridiculous.
Yep. Yep.
And
Gotta
I
love
think,
this extra spice to Big Bungus hit hard. So
yeah. So for this set, um, I
it's
think we
so hard to
gotta,
choose.
I think we gotta say Suicune V as a candidate.
Suicune V and Jolteon VMAX, I think, are like the top two. There's so many good cards here,
Oh, and
but those are
Umbreon,
the two.
Umbreon
And
VMAX,
yeah,
Umbreon
geez.
VMAX.
Uh,
Yeah, those I think those 3 are our candidates from here.
Yeah.
I might be using bias, not really bias, but I think I'll try to persuade you to agree with my rankings based on more tournament results.
Yeah.
Where, but it's also hard to say because Umbreon single strike, the single strike dot deck and Suicune Ludi have been pretty even on tournament results with Jolteon kind of right behind them. They're all great cards. I do think Umbreon VMAX might just be the strongest on its own since it has
Yeah.
that boss's orders effect.
Yeah, on its own for sure. In the context of the deck, though, I definitely think Jolteon becomes a stronger card with the cards that surround it. But
Mhm.
anyway, let's get to this last set, Fusion Strike. I'm pretty sure we can all say what the best card in this set is, and it's Mew VMAX. It's Mew VMAX. I mean, you really can't say anything else. This card is
Honestly,
just dumb.
I honestly ranked Genesect as the #1 card of the set. So hear me out. I could be it's kind of a back and forth which side of the coin you want to be on because Genesect V allows you to draw up to 6 cards, for each Genesect V you have out if you have a board full of Fusion Strike Pokemon, right? So you get to do that you can do that 4 times. If you can empty your hand all 4 times, Genesect Vs draw you 24 cards if you have all 4 of them on your bench, which is absolutely insane. It has Technoblast, it does 210. And then we have Mew VMAX, which for 2 colorless can copy the attack of any of your benched Fusion Strike Pokemon, and it also has free retreat. So Mew VMAX can copy this Genesect attack to do 210 for just 2 colorless, but Genesect V draws the cards. So it's kind of like the chicken and the egg, Sean. Genesect V, I don't think would be played, or at least played to success, without Mew VMAX as the force behind the deck. But
I
I
yeah.
don't know if Mew VMAX would be played without this draw engine. They're both
I
good cards in that right, I think.
I definitely agree. I think Mew VMAX would probably be teched in. Well, because it can only use Fusion Strike attacks, we don't really have that many good Fusion Strike Pokemon. I'm sure
Right.
once we start getting like Brilliant Stars, and hopefully they keep with the gimmick instead of just jumping straight to V Stars and kind of abandoning this, we'll be able to see some more out of Mew VMAX. But yeah, they're kind of just co-joined twins. You can't have one without the other. And if you do, the deck dies.
Yes, yes. So, I think, Mew VMAX is obviously the poster boy of Fusion Strike. So I think we'll take Mew VMAX and Genesect as our candidates, but
Yeah,
if it
yeah,
comes down to just one of them, I think it just makes sense for it to be Mew VMAX since
I
that's
agree.
kind of the face of the deck. And elsewise for Fusion Strike, you got some
There ain't
cool
nothing.
cards. You got Greedent, you got trainer cards that are used, Cross Switcher, Chromatic, Power Tablet, Fusion Strike, a lot of Fusion Strike support, some cool secret rares and alt arts, the Rapid Strike Inteleon VMAX, the Gengar Single Strike VMAX, but nothing that even comes close to the cards that we're calling the best, in my opinion. So, Sean, we named about 10 or so cards from Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, the 2021 main sets of the Pokemon TCG that we agreed are in contention to be the top 5 cards. Now, I do think we're each going to have some differing opinions, but why don't we both make our own top 5 lists? So, Sean, go ahead and name your top 5 cards of 2021 that you think really defined the Pokemon TCG this year.
All right. So number 5 is the Inteleon from which one was it? I think it was Chilling
Chilling
Reign.
Reign.
Yep.
Mhm.
The one that snipes for 20 on any Pokemon. Number 4, I've got to give it to the Single Strike Umbreon VMAX. That card's just a house with the gusting effect. It can get up real quick in terms of just advantage, and that card makes that deck tick. Number 3, Elemental Badge in and of itself. Now, that might be controversial, but it is just, again, it's an in-archetype style card that wouldn't be out of place in something like another card game like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! And seeing that sort of bleed into Pokemon again after having the same sort of cards printed year after year without much difference, it kind of makes me biased, which is why I'm throwing it in the middle. Number 2, Jolteon VMAX in and of itself. Just doing math with it and balancing your Galarian Zigzagoon and your Inteleons on your bench so you can keep firing off damage and using Scoop Up Net to take advantage of the extra 10 damage on Zigzagoon and such makes that card really tick. And number one is hard, but I think I have to give it to Mew VMAX. Mew VMAX, despite because it's attached to Genesect, it's kind of hard to just not rank Genesect, but I think you kind of just have to give it like the slash, like it's both. It has to be both, but that's probably the best thing that's come out of this year's meta game. So
Yeah, I agree with Mew VMAX being the number one if you're picking between that and Genesect. They're both great cards. I think in a vacuum, Genesect V, I might even have to objectively say is a better card. But when you're looking at, the competitive environment of the Pokemon trading card game this past year, and just, recently with Fusion Strike's release in the past month or so, Mew VMAX is definitely the face of the Fusion Strike deck. So I agree with that.
for sure. Yep. So what's your overall top 5 then?
Okay, so my number 5 of 2021 is going to be Suicune V. Between it being played in the Ice Rider VMAX decks, Suicune and Teleon variants, and probably the most popular and most successful being Suicune and Teleon paired with Ludicolo from Evolving Skies. Suicune V is such an efficient attacker, and we're actually getting Raikus and Entei that are almost the exact card but their own types next year. So I'm really excited for that, to see if there's kind of a trio deck of all 3 of them with Aurora energy and stuff. But yeah, Suicune V is really efficient attacker and really, really strong. My number 4 is going to be Umbreon VMAX, although I think it's an insane card objectively. It's meta force, or like its influence on the meta game hasn't been as strong as the 3 cards I have above it, but Umbreon VMAX is so good. It gusts up, it does 160 minimum more with your single strike energies attached, and it pairs really well, of course, with single strike Urshifu, since single strike energy counts for dark or fighting. So Umbreon VMAX is going to be my third. My fourth, I'm sorry. My third is going to be Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. This card was really, really strong when it came out, and it's still around as a playable deck, just not an overwhelming force in the metagame, but it was really good in the Chilling Reign format and also the pre-rotation Evolving Skies format. My number 2 is going to be Mew VMAX, and just because of the amount of time it's had to actually influence our metagame. Fusion Strike came out on November 12th, 2021, which is just a little over a month ago, and there haven't even been any official events in North America or held by TPCI online since the release of Fusion Strike. So Mew VMAX, although it is the current best deck paired with Genesect V, it's only had that influence over the meta for about a month, so I have to give the number 1 spot to Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX with the G-Max Rapid Flow that snipes 2 Pokemon for a minimum of 120 damage before the additional damage modifiers like Passimian from Chilling Reign, or the Passimian with the Battle Style tag, and Telescopic Sight as well. So my top 5 are going to be Rapid Strike Urshifu, Mew VMAX, Shadow Rider Calyrex, Umbreon VMAX, and Suicune V.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's our top 10 cards of 2021, and let's hope that 2022 keeps up with the bangers, because I know Luminion V's coming back, and I'm not excited about Tapu Lele 2 Electric Boogaloo. Anyway, if you guys liked this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us your favorite card from 2021. I think that we're definitely getting some probably different answers even from what we listed, because there were so many good cards. So yeah, so if you enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later.